In April 2023, Rob Walton, the eldest heir to the Walmart empire, quietly finalized the purchase of the Denver Broncos NFL team for a record-setting $4.65 billion. Not because he needed the investment, and not because he even cared that much about football. He just didn't want anyone else to have it. 2 months later, his sister Alice Walton dropped $1 billion. Not on a home, not on a yacht, but on reimagining a small-town art museum in Arkansas that she built from scratch. In the same year, their family fortune ballooned past $247 billion, officially making them the richest family not just in America, but in the world. But here's the crazy part. Despite having more wealth than Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and Bill Gates combined, most people wouldn't recognize a single Walton walking past them on the street. So who are the Waltons, really? And how did a humble retail family from Arkansas quietly build a trillion-dollar web of influence that now stretches across the globe? Sam Walton was born into the Great Depression. Raised in the dusty farmlands of Oklahoma and Missouri, young Sam picked up odd jobs just to keep the family afloat. Milking cows at 4 a.m., delivering newspapers before school, and selling magazine subscriptions door to door like a mini tycoon in training. But even back then, he wasn't just chasing pennies. He was watching people, learning, taking mental notes. He noticed what made customers tick, what got them to say yes, and how to get them to come back. After college, he joined JCPenney, a rising star in department store retail. Sam quickly stood out, not for being efficient, but for being too friendly. His boss told him he spent too much time talking to customers, but that so-called flaw, that genuine curiosity, would later become his secret weapon. In 1945, with a $20,000 loan from his father-in-law, Sam bought a Ben Franklin variety store in Newport, Arkansas. This was his sandbox, and he started experimenting immediately. He introduced longer hours, sharper displays, and aggressive discounts. His model was simple: move product faster than anyone else and treat customers like neighbors, not numbers. Within 3 years, the store's sales jumped from $80,000 to $225,000. An explosive growth that raised more than just eyebrows. It caught the attention of PK Homes, the store's landlord, whose family had its own long-standing roots in retail, and Holmes wanted it back. Seeing Sam's success, Holmes refused to renew the lease. He wanted to take the now booming store and pass it down to his son. The worst part? Sam couldn't stop it. He hadn't secured a long-term lease, and because of a clause in his agreement, he was paying 5% of all sales as rent. A sky-high rate tied directly to the store's explosive growth. In short, the better Sam did, the more Holmes profited, and then pulled the rug out from under him. That moment, the loss of his most successful venture, became one of Sam Walton's first major business lessons. Never put your future in someone else's hands. Always own the land, the lease, or the leverage. But instead of giving up, Sam and his wife Helen packed up, drove 2 hours north to Bentonville, and opened a new shop. A modest store on the town square. He called it Walton's Five and Dime. And this time, he wasn't just building a business. He was building something that no one could take from him. But the real breakthrough came when he zoomed out from the corner store model and started thinking nationally. When Sam Walton opened the first Walmart in Rogers, Arkansas in 1962, it didn't look like the beginning of a revolution. The building was plain, the town was small, and the market experts, they were laughing. At the time, the big retail players were focused on big cities. They believed that rural America was too spread out, too poor, and too unsophisticated for large-scale discount retail. Sam thought the opposite. He had spent years in small towns, watching how people shopped, how they thought, how far they had to drive just to buy laundry detergent. What he saw wasn't laziness, it was pent-up demand. He bet that he could bring low prices, trusted brands, and a friendly experience directly to small-town America. People would come and stay loyal for life. So Sam did something no other major retailer dared to do. He planted his flag in rural soil. Not just because rent was cheap, but because there was no competition. And here's where the real genius kicked in. Sam knew that offering the lowest price wasn't enough. You had to deliver it consistently. And that meant building something invisible to customers, but essential to survival: logistics. While other retailers relied on middlemen, Sam built his own distribution centers. He bought a fleet of trucks, He invested in inventory tracking systems decades before it became standard practice. Every box that moved in or out of Walmart's supply chain was tracked with obsessive detail. He even made his executives ride the trucks so they could experience the supply chain firsthand. This control allowed Walmart to restock faster, avoid delays, and negotiate better deals with suppliers. Manufacturers started designing packaging just for Walmart because they knew Sam could move more product than anyone else. Then there was his pricing strategy. Sam didn't just slash prices randomly. He used a psychological tactic called price anchoring. He'd keep a few well-known products at ultra-low prices, so customers believed everything in the store was cheap. It worked. People came in for toothpaste and walked out with lawn chairs, and Sam never stopped learning. He'd show up unannounced to stores, take notes on what customers were doing, ask employees questions, and watch receipts like a hawk. He even flew to South America to spy on competitors and check their aisle widths, and famously got arrested in Brazil for crawling on the floor with a tape measure. He wasn't embarrassed, he said, "I probably walked into more variety stores than anybody in America. I'm just trying to get ideas that will help our company." His obsession with operational detail became the company's DNA. By 1970, Walmart had 38 stores and had gone public. Sam reinvested the profits, expanded distribution centers, and built stores at a breakneck pace. By 1980, there were over 275 stores. And by 1985, Walmart had crossed $6 billion in annual sales. But Sam didn't just build a chain of stores. He built a culture. Employees weren't just staff. They were called associates and given stock in the company. He encouraged them to think like owners. He led company-wide chants, held morning pep rallies, and kept a handwritten notebook of ideas from frontline workers. One of those ideas, a greeter at the door, became a national symbol of Walmart's friendliness. Walmart was no longer just a store. It was becoming an American institution. And as the company marched toward the 1990s, Sam Walton was no longer just a businessman. He was the architect of the largest private employer in the United States. Unlike most billionaire heirs who sell out and drift off, the Waltons never gave up control. They passed the reins, but never the keys. Sam's 3 children, Rob, Jim, and Alice, each inherited massive stakes in Walmart. Together, they control about 50% of the entire company through a family holding firm called Walton Enterprises. Rob became chairman of Walmart and ran it for over 2 decades. Jim built a banking and investment empire. Alice turned her wealth into a cultural revolution, building museums and pushing education reform. But here's what most people don't realize. The Waltons don't just sit on their Walmart stock. They use it like an engine, a business flywheel that generates billions every year in dividends, which they reinvest into private equity, real estate, and venture capital. Their real estate holdings alone are estimated at $40 billion. They also run a secretive investment firm with over $60 billion under management, quietly buying into everything from energy companies to AI startups. This web of investments ensures that Walmart, despite operating in a low-margin business, is just one of many rivers flowing into the Walton vault. But what happens when that vault gets too full? You give some of it away, strategically. On the surface, the Walton Family Foundation is just another philanthropic organization. But dig deeper, and you'll see it operates more like a strategy hub for shaping the future. With over $6 billion in assets and annual giving that tops $400 million, the foundation pours money into education, environmental protection, and regional development. Particularly in Arkansas, where Walmart began. They've pushed for charter schools, backed innovative education models, and built world-class museums in small towns. Some critics say their philanthropy acts as soft influence, helping shape public policy and infrastructure in ways that align with the family's values and interests. But to the Waltons, giving is also a tax strategy. By funneling billions into donor-advised funds and charitable trusts, they can avoid estate taxes and keep control over how and when the money gets used. It's philanthropy, but on their terms. And while some criticize this as just another tool for the rich, others see it as the natural evolution of 21st century dynasties. Private wealth, private control, public benefit. But the Waltons aren't just managing their legacy, they're preparing the next generation to expand it. If Sam Walton laid the foundation for Walmart and his children built it into a fortress, then the next generation is being trained to quietly run the empire from inside the walls. The Waltons don't just pass down wealth, they pass down control, deliberately, methodically, and often behind the scenes. At the top of this new billionaire class is Lucas Walton, the only child of Sam's son John Walton, who died in a tragic plane crash in 2005. Lucas was just 19 years old when he inherited his father's stake, but the family didn't just hand him the money and walk away. Instead, Lucas was carefully brought into the fold. He studied environmental science and economics, then slowly took on more influence within Walton Enterprises, the family's secretive holding company. Today, Lucas is worth over $20 billion and leads the Builders Vision Initiative, a climate-focused investment firm tackling sustainable energy, oceans, and regenerative agriculture. It's not just philanthropy, it's impact investing, where values and capital align. And it shows how the family is teaching its heirs to shape the future, not just inherit it. Then there's Stuart Walton, one of Rob Walton's sons. A Yale Law graduate, Stuart has served on Walmart's board, co-founded a private aviation company, and led economic development efforts in Northwest Arkansas. He also helped launch the Runway Group, an investment company focused on revitalizing their hometown region through infrastructure, outdoor recreation, and entrepreneurship. His brother Tom Walton leads mountain biking and green space projects, turning Bentonville into an unlikely hotspot for outdoor tourism and innovation. They're not just building businesses, they're designing ecosystems. And then there's Carrie Walton Penner, one of the most influential and quietest figures in American education reform. Carrie is the daughter of Rob Walton and holds a graduate degree in education policy. She's spent over 2 decades shaping charter school movements, pushing for parental choice, and funding alternative education models through the Walton Family Foundation. She also sits on the boards of major nonprofits and university boards, including KIPP and Stanford's Board of Trustees. Her influence is deep, strategic, and, like most Waltons, rarely publicized. This is the thread that runs through the entire next generation. They're not celebrities, they're operators. No red carpets, no drama, just well-placed power, generational influence, and meticulously groomed leadership. And behind it all is a family office that's been described as one of the most sophisticated private entities in the world. The Waltons employ a small army of advisors, from financial strategists to political consultants to philanthropic architects, who help train and support the younger heirs in managing their roles. They're taught not just how to preserve wealth, but how to deploy it in education, in policy, in cultural influence, and in climate innovation. And here's the most powerful piece of the puzzle. Each Walton heir controls a slice of the empire, but none of them can move unilaterally. Their investments, governance, and even philanthropy are part of a broader, centralized strategy coordinated through Walton Enterprises and the Walton Family Foundation. In other words, no one is rogue. Everyone plays their part. Every dollar, every decision, it's all part of a larger choreography. Here's what it means to have $247 billion. If the Walton family were a country, they'd be wealthier than New Zealand. Their annual Walmart dividends alone generate over $2 billion, whether they work or not. Their wealth grows while they sleep. They've insulated themselves from economic crashes by diversifying into real estate, tech, energy, and finance. They've bypassed estate taxes using advanced trusts. They've maintained majority control in the world's largest retailer by revenue, without holding any public office or giving a single press interview. And perhaps most importantly, they've done it all while blending in. No mega yachts, no gold-plated supercars, no tabloid scandals, just strategic, generational wealth that keeps compounding behind the scenes. And while Walmart might sell for cheap, the family who owns it is anything but discounted. From the dusty back roads of Arkansas to the summit of global wealth, the Waltons have built more than a business. They built a fortress, made of logistics, discipline, and decades of quiet control. They didn't chase headlines, they chased margins. And in doing so, they created not just a store, but a system. A system that now feeds billions, employs millions, and powers a fortune so large, it could write a check to every American and still be rich. Love them or criticize them, one thing is certain. The Walton family didn't just win capitalism, they redefined it.